Florence Scovel Shinn stopped everything in 1927, when she realized something that would forever change her understanding of angels. She was counseling a desperate client when a homeless person knocked on the door. What happened in the next 3 minutes revealed a secret that churches have hidden for centuries. Florence discovered that angels don't come with wings and halos. They come in disguise, as homeless people, as irritable children, as annoying neighbors. As that person you met yesterday who made you feel uneasy for no apparent reason. And most disturbingly, Florence proved that 99% of people have already rejected at least 3 angels in their lives without knowing it. You probably rejected one this week. But Florence left behind a precise method, 7 unmistakable signs to recognize when someone has been sent from the divine plane to change your destiny. And the first sign will make you rethink every strange encounter you've had in recent days. Have you ever felt that someone appeared in your life at the exact moment? That person who said exactly what you needed to hear? Or perhaps the opposite? Someone who deeply irritated you for no logical reason? Florence discovered that both can be angels. Yes, angels who annoy, angels who test, angels who appear as problems. The pain you carry from missed opportunities, from doors that didn't open, from unanswered prayers. Florence revealed that in most cases, the answer came in human form, and it was rejected because we expected an obvious miracle, not a homeless person asking for water. We expected a glorious savior, not a crying child in the supermarket. We expected divine light, not a bothersome neighbor ringing the doorbell. Florence documented hundreds of cases. People who lost fortunes because they ignored the advice of a stranger in an elevator. Marriages saved by a phrase spoken by a stranger in a cafe. Diseases cured after seemingly casual encounters. But most impressively, she mapped the pattern. The 7 signs that always appear when an angel is disguised among us. And the first sign is so obvious that you'll wonder how you never noticed. It was December 1927. Florence was in her office on 5th Avenue. When Margaret Hamilton walked in, rich, sophisticated, but with the empty eyes of someone who had lost hope. Her 7-year-old son was dying. The doctors had given up. She was looking for a miracle. Florence began working with affirmations. The child is under divine protection. Perfect healing manifests now. But something strange happened. Loud knocks on the door. Florence suggested ignoring them, but the knocking continued. Annoyed, Margaret went to answer. It was an old ragged man, torn clothes, smell of alcohol, asking for food. Margaret was about to close the door when he said something that froze her. Your son needs coarse salt in his room. 3 handfuls in the corners. Before midnight. Margaret came back trembling. How did he know about her son? Florence had an immediate insight. That wasn't an ordinary homeless person. He was a messenger. A disguised angel sent with the exact answer. But here's where the story gets unsettling. Margaret didn't want to follow the advice. It seemed too absurd. Coarse salt? From a drunk homeless person. Florence then revealed the first sign. Disguised angels always know something impossible to know. Something specific about your life that no one could guess. Margaret gave in. She put down the salt. At midnight, her son's fever broke. In 3 days, he was completely cured. The doctors had no explanation. But Florence did. And she began obsessively documenting every similar case. The first sign of disguised angels. Florence discovered that disguised angels always reveal impossible knowledge. They know things about you that you've never told anyone. Your secret fears, your hidden desires, intimate details of your life, but not in a mystical or obvious way. They let information slip out as if it were casual. Like the taxi driver who told one of her clients, "Ma'am, I know you're worried about that letter that arrived yesterday, but everything will be all right." She had never mentioned any letter. Or the bakery saleswoman who commented, "You seem like someone who's thinking about changing jobs. My advice? Wait until March." The client had been in exactly that dilemma for weeks. Florence noticed the pattern. These strangers always knew impossible details and always offered exactly the guidance needed. But here's the test. Most people dismiss these moments as coincidence. Oh, he must have guessed? It was just a coincidence. But Florence knew better. If someone recently demonstrated knowledge of something about your life that they shouldn't know, Florence would say, "Pay attention. It may be an angel testing whether you are receptive to divine guidance." The second sign, impossible timing. Florence noticed that disguised angels always appear at the exact moment of greatest need. Not before, when you still have hope. Not after, when you've already given up. Exactly at the critical moment. As if someone from above were timing every second. In 1928, Florence documented the case of Robert Chen, a Chinese merchant who was on the verge of bankruptcy. He had lost everything in bad investments. It was Friday, the last day to pay his creditors or lose his family's business. At 4:47 in the afternoon, while walking desperately through Chinatown, a child stopped him. "Sir, my grandmother wants to talk to you." The child took him to a modest home. The grandmother, who didn't speak English, gestured for him to sit down. She took a piece of paper and drew numbers. An address. Then she pointed to the clock. 1 hour. Robert found it bizarre, but something compelled him to go. At the indicated address, he found a man who was desperate to sell an antique jade collection. Ridiculously low price. Robert bought everything with the little money he had. Resold it the same day for 20 times the value. Saved the company. When he returned to thank the grandmother, the house had been empty for months. The neighbors swore that no one lived there. Florence noted, "Angel number 47. Appeared at the exact moment, disappeared after the mission." If someone appeared in your life exactly when you needed them most, at the most perfect timing, Florence would say, that's not coincidence. It's disguised divine intervention. The third sign, inexplicable resistance. This is the most unsettling sign Florence discovered. Disguised angels often cause immediate and inexplicable resistance. Feel something strange. A different energy. A desire to flee without logical reason. Florence realized that this happens because angels carry a higher vibrational frequency. Our human ego senses the difference and reacts with fear. In 1929, Elizabeth Morrison sought Florence out in desperation. She'd been in an abusive marriage for 15 years, a violent husband, but she couldn't leave. No money, no family, no options. During a therapy session, a poorly dressed man entered the waiting room. "Excuse me," he said. "I thought this was a bank." But then he looked directly at Elizabeth. "Ma'am," he said, "there's a shelter on 42nd Street. They need a secretary. It pays well. They start on Monday." Elizabeth felt a wave of panic. She wanted to run. Why? The man hadn't said anything threatening. On the contrary, he offered exactly what she needed. But something about him deeply frightened her. Florence immediately recognized it. angelic resistance. It's normal, Florence explained. Angels carry a pure energy that our ego fears. The resistance you feel is your comfort zone being challenged. Elizabeth followed the advice. The shelter really needed a secretary. She got the job, gained financial independence, and finally left her abusive husband. If you felt inexplicable resistance to someone who offered exactly what you needed, Florence would say, that resistance is your ego recognizing the presence of something divine. The fourth sign. They mysteriously disappear. Florence noticed a disturbing pattern. After delivering their message, disguised angels simply vanish. You try to find them again, and they're gone. They disappeared from their job, vanished without a trace. Or worse, people swear they were never there. Thomas Webb was facing a legal battle that could destroy his life. Wrongfully accused of fraud. He needed a specific piece of evidence buried in thousands of old documents. Desperate, he went to the public library. An elderly librarian helped him. "I know exactly what you need," she said, and led him straight to the correct file. In 20 minutes, he found the document that would clear his name. Thomas was so grateful he returned the next day with flowers. "What elderly librarian?" the receptionist asked. "We only have young people working here. We never had an elderly librarian." Thomas described the woman. No one recognized her. They checked employee records. No elderly woman had worked there in the last 10 years. Florence noted, "Angel number 73. Mission accomplished. Return to the ethereal plane." She realized that angels assume physical form temporarily, only to deliver the message. Then, the form dissolves. If someone helped you crucially and then mysteriously disappeared, Florence would say, you were visited by a messenger from the divine. The fifth sign. They speak in metaphors and symbols. Florence discovered that disguised angels rarely speak directly. They use metaphors, symbols, seemingly casual stories that contain the exact guidance you need. But you need to decipher the message. Sarah Mitchell was undecided about accepting a marriage proposal. The suitor was financially stable, but she didn't feel true love. In the bank line, an elderly lady started a conversation. "You remind me of my granddaughter. She married for security. You know, beautiful house, new car, all the best things. But do you know what she told me in the end? Grandma, I'd trade it all for one day of true love." The lady continued, "My younger granddaughter did things differently. She married for love. A simple man. They started with nothing, but built an empire together. You know why? Because when there's true love, the universe conspires to help." Sarah realized this wasn't a casual conversation. It was guidance in disguise. She refused the proposal from the secure suitor. 6 months later, she met the man of her life. They married and built a successful company together. Florence explained, "Angels speak in parables so that only those ready for the message understand it. If you're hearing the story, it's because you need the guidance." The sixth sign. They trigger instantaneous changes. This is perhaps the most powerful sign Florence identified. After encountering a true angel, changes start happening immediately, as if the universe were rearranged to align with the new direction. Dr. Marcus Reynolds was trapped in an unhappy marriage for 20 years. A distant wife, troubled children, a stagnant career. He had given up on being happy. At a medical conference, he shared an elevator with a janitor. "Doctor," the janitor said, You seem like someone who forgot their dreams." Marcus was surprised by the unexpected comment. "I was a musician before I was a janitor," the man continued. "I thought cleaning was more practical. You know what I learned? It's never too late to go back to what makes your heart sing." That 2-minute conversation changed everything. Marcus went home and had an honest conversation with his wife. They discovered they were both unhappy and pretending. They divorced amicably. Marcus returned to playing the piano, something he hadn't done in decades. He met a musician at a recital. They married and now travel the world playing together. Most impressively, when Marcus looked for the janitor to thank him, he discovered that the hotel had no employee matching that description. Florence noted, "Angels come to break stagnant patterns. When you meet one, change is inevitable." The 7th sign, they leave an object or symbol. The last sign Florence discovered is the most mysterious disguised angels often leave a physical object as proof of the visit. Something small, seemingly worthless, but carrying deep meaning for the recipient. Helen Carter was going through the worst depression of her life. She lost her job, her apartment, and was considering suicide. Sitting on a park bench, an elderly man approached her. "Miss," he said. "I dropped this," he said, handing her a small, smooth stone. "But I think it's yours." Helen looked confused. "It's a hope stone," the man explained. "My grandmother gave it to me when I was a child. She said that as long as I had it, there would always be light at the end of the tunnel." The man smiled and left. Helen kept the stone without understanding why. That night, while holding it, she felt an inexplicable peace. The next day, she received an unexpected call. A company wanted to hire her. The interview had been scheduled for the exact time she met the man with the stone. Helen thrived in the new company. Years later, she still carries the stone. It became her hope, talisman. And yes, when she tried to find the elderly man, no one in the park remembered him. Florence concluded, "Angels leave physical objects, so you remember that the visit was real, not imagination." How to activate your angelic perception. Now that you know the 7 signs, Florence left specific instructions to increase your ability to recognize disguised angels. First, make the daily decree of receptivity. I am open and receptive to divine messengers in all their forms. I recognize the angels who come in disguise to guide me on the perfect path. Second, keep an angel journal. Every time a stranger says something impactful, write it down. Date, time, context, message. Florence discovered that patterns become obvious when documented. Third, practice immediate gratitude. When someone unexpectedly helps you, even something small, mentally thank the universe. This signals your receptiveness to more divine guidance. Fourth, pay attention to your instantaneous fears. If you feel inexplicable resistance to someone who offered something good, pause. Ask yourself, is my ego resisting change? Florence discovered that our greatest angels often come disguised as our greatest challenges. Fifth, observe synchronicities. Angels leave clues, repeated numbers, specific words, symbols appearing multiple times in the same day. Florence called these angelic breadcrumbs, clues left to confirm you're on the right path. Florence taught that the more you recognize angels in disguise, the more they appear. It's like tuning into a frequency. At first, you only pick up the most obvious signals. With practice, you begin to perceive the more subtle messages. She documented that her most advanced clients came to recognize up to 5 angels in disguise per week. When you live in gratitude and receptivity, Florence said, the universe sends an entire team of angels to ensure your success. But Florence also warned, not every stranger is an angel, but every angel is a stranger, at least at first. The key is to recognize the signs, trust your intuition, and be willing to receive guidance from even the most unlikely sources. Remember the case of Margaret and the homeless person with the salt. If she had closed the door, her son might have died. How many doors have you closed to angels in disguise? How many divine opportunities have you discarded because they came in unexpected packaging? From today forward, Florence wants you to live with your eyes wide open. That strange person who will appear in your life in the coming days, perhaps even today, may carry the answer you've been seeking for months. Don't dismiss them based on appearances. Listen to the message. Pay attention to the signs. And remember, angels don't come to impress. They come to serve. Don't expect trumpets and heavenly lights. Expect an annoying neighbor, a stubborn child, an insistent homeless person. Expect someone who will inexplicably unsettle you. Because as Florence discovered, the greatest miracles arrive, disguised as ordinary people. Florence's secret method for testing angels. But Florence went beyond simple identification. She developed a secret method for testing whether someone is truly an angel in disguise. This test never failed in 50 years of practice. First test, the impossible question. When suspecting someone is a disguised angel, ask a question about something only you know, something you've never told anyone. True angels always know the answer, even if they reveal it indirectly. Florence tested this with hundreds of cases. In 1932, one of her clients, Dorothy Walsh, was struggling with a terrible family secret. Her brother had stolen their parents' inheritance, and she'd never told anyone. During a train journey, she sat next to an elderly priest. The priest casually remarked, "Daughter, forgiveness is lighter than revenge, especially between siblings." Dorothy froze. How did he know? She hadn't mentioned any siblings. The priest continued, "Stolen money always returns, but broken relationships can be eternal." Dorothy followed the advice. She forgave her brother. 6 months later, he sought her out in tears, returned all the money with interest, and apologized. When Dorothy sought out the priest to thank him, the church said no priest matching that description had ever worked there. Second test, the request for help. True angels always respond to sincere requests for guidance. But beware, they never make decisions for you. They only illuminate the options. Florence taught her clients to say, "If you were sent to help me, I need guidance on specific situation." True angels always respond in some way. False angels become confused or change the subject. Third test, the energy after the encounter. After speaking with a true angel, you feel inexplicable peace, even if the message was challenging. There's a feeling that you're on the right path. With ordinary people, you might feel good or bad. With angels, you always feel divine harmony. Florence's secret decree. Florence saved her most powerful decree for the most desperate cases. She called it the emergency angelic call. Use only when you truly need immediate divine intervention. I now invoke the presence of angels in disguise in my life. May they come in whatever form is necessary to guide me to the highest good. I commit to recognizing their messages, even if they come through the most unlikely people. I accept divine guidance in all its forms. Let it be done now, and with perfect harmony. Florence documented that this decree always brought a disguised angel within 72 hours. Always, without exception. In her 50 years of practice, it never failed. But she warned, only use when you are truly ready for change. Angels don't come to keep you in your comfort zone. They come to take you to your divine destiny. Extreme cases, when angels save lives. Florence documented cases where angels in disguise literally saved lives. These were the most impressive because the intervention was impossible to ignore. In 1934, James Morrison was driving on an empty road when his car broke down. It was winter, heavy snow, no houses for miles. He was truly isolated. The temperature was dropping rapidly. After 2 hours walking in the snow, James was entering hypothermia when he saw a light. A cabin he swore wasn't there before. Inside, an elderly man greeted him with hot soup and dry clothes. "How did you know I would come?" James asked. "I always know when someone is lost," the mysterious man replied. James spent the night safe. In the morning, the man drove him to a busy road where he got a ride. When James returned to thank him, the cabin was gone. Just an empty clearing in the woods. Florence personally investigated this case. She spoke with locals who confirmed there had never been a cabin in that area. But James was alive. And that was sufficient proof of angelic intervention. The final transformation. Living as an angel magnet, Florence discovered that people who recognize angels in disguise consistently develop a special, magnetic quality. They become magnets for divine guidance. Angels appear in their lives with increasing frequency. When you honor the divine messengers, Florence wrote, heaven sends more messengers. She taught that there are 3 levels of angelic consciousness. Level 1, skepticism. You dismiss all signs as coincidence. Angels stop appearing because you're not receptive. Level 2, recognition. You identify angels occasionally. Your life gradually improves with the guidance received. Level 3, angelic magnetism. You live in a constant state of gratitude and receptivity. Angels appear regularly, sometimes several a week. Your life becomes a series of seemingly coincidental miracles. Florence lived at level 3 for decades. She documented near-daily angelic encounters. When you live knowing angels are always near, she said, they become visible. The ultimate secret, angels also test you. This is the most advanced knowledge Florence uncovered. Angels don't just deliver messages. They also test your readiness to receive greater blessings. In 1938, Florence was working with a very wealthy but spiritually empty client. During the session, a dirty child wandered in asking for food. The client was annoyed. "Get that child out of here!" Florence immediately realized it was a test. "This child may have something important to tell us," she suggested. The client resisted, but Florence insisted. The child then said, "The rich lady will lose everything if she doesn't help the poor." The client laughed, scoffed. "Crazy child." 3 months later, the client lost her entire fortune in bad investments. She sought Florence out, desperate. "That child. Where can I find her?" Florence explained, "Angels test our hearts before delivering greater blessings. If we fail the test of compassion, we lose divine protection." Florence's daily practice. To live like an angel magnet, Florence developed a specific daily routine. Morning. Today I will be attentive to divine messengers in all their forms. May my eyes see, my ears hear, and my heart recognize the guidance that comes to me. During the day, treat every stranger as a potential angel. Even if 90% are just ordinary people, the 10% who are angels are worth respectful attention. Night. I am grateful for the angels who came today, even those I didn't recognize. May I be even more receptive to divine guidance tomorrow. Florence assured that this simple practice would multiply angelic encounters exponentially. Your angelic challenge. I challenge you to test Florence's method for the next 30 days. Use the 7 signs. Practice the 3 tests. Make the emergency affirmation if necessary. Keep the angelic journal. Florence promised that in 30 days of conscious practice, your life would be unrecognizable. Not because angels will do everything for you, but because you will finally be receiving the divine guidance that has always been available. And remember, the angel that will change your life might knock on your door today. It could be the unfamiliar delivery person, the annoying neighbor, the unruly child. Don't let appearances deceive you. As Florence said, God has a sense of humor. He sends angels who don't look anything like angels, because he wants to see if you can see beyond appearances. If this knowledge reached you today, it wasn't a coincidence. You were ready to receive these secrets. Now it's up to you to honor that guidance and put it into practice. The angels are waiting to reveal themselves. The question is, are you ready to recognize them? Florence Scovel Shinn's final affirmation. I now live in angelic consciousness. I recognize divine messengers in all their forms. My life is a harmonious dance with celestial guidance. Angels surround me, protect me, and guide me to the highest good. So it is, so it shall be, so it is done. If you want to show support for content that truly transforms lives, use Super Thanks here on YouTube. Each contribution allows us to continue revealing these ancestral secrets that have changed the lives of thousands of people over a century. And don't forget, over the next 3 days, observe every unfamiliar person who crosses your path. It might be exactly the angel you've been waiting for months.